Hey folks, it's Rob. Welcome back. We're continuing our series today on the expert set for 1983's Dungeons and Dragons, more modernly known as BECME. The blue box, the XE part, the expert, right? And we're on part, this is 22 of this series, and we're in the middle of monsters. Literally, we're on M's, and we are on men, which is going to be probably the biggest entry in this book. Now, don't be fooled. It's actually going to cover six different possibilities of men that you're going to be able to use in various ways. And it's literally this whole page here plus bleed over onto the next page. A whole top third is also this entry. And at the same time, all this space is going to be given. It's going to give you a lot of certain detail, and a lot of certain other details are just going to be kind of up to you, and you're going to have to work it out, right? Because it's men, right? Men is the generic term for mankind, and in the game, functionally, that is every single human being who isn't functionally a character class. Although some of these will kind of be character classes because they're going to be fighters by and large. I'll be upfront. So let's get into it. So we have across the top here our types. We have Brigands, Buccaneer, and Pirate. So just the same thing, Buccaneers and Pirates. I believe there is a fine distinction between the two, but I'm not going to Google that right now. Dervish, trader, a merchant who travels, usually. Nomad, and noble. So, you might encounter these kind of people, or they might be in situations where you want to use them as, randos that the people that your party might encounter in combat. And so we have stats, right? It's interesting where it's variable and where it isn't, honestly. So Brigands, armor class, variable. Buccaneers and Pirates, armor class, variable. Actually, let's do them top down. Brigands are armor class, variable, hit dice 1. Move 120 by 40. That's going to be the case for everybody except for traders and nobles. But, attack by 1 weapon, yeah. Damage by that weapon, yeah. Number appearing of brigands underground in the dungeon 0, overland 10 to 40. Save as fighter 1, morale 8, treasure type A in their lair, and they are chaotic because they are brigands. They are there to steal stuff and make their own outlaw life, right? Buccaneers and Pirates. So again, armor class variable, hit die 1, move 120 by 40. Weapon is the attack and damage. Again, you don't really run into a lot of Buccaneers and Pirates underground, but you can. It says special for number appearing above ground. That's because it's probably going to be talking about boats, and there's going to be a certain amount of crew and a certain number of boats. That's our spoiler. Save as fighter 1, because again, they're just level 1 fighters functionally. Morale 6 or 7, depending on the case. Again, treasure type A in their lair. Buccaneers are functionally neutral, while pirates are chaotic. Yeah. Dervish, armor class variable. Hit die 1, 120 by 40 for movement. Again, they attack with a weapon, and they damage by a weapon. Again, you won't find any dervishes in the dungeon underground, but above ground you might encounter 20 to 70 dervi. They again save as fighter level 1. Morale 10, quite robust, but not impenetrable. Again, treasure type A, and they are lawful. Yeah, lawful dervishes. Trader. So this is where we start getting a little different, but I think you pretty much have an idea what a trader might be in your mind. Armor class 5, specifically. Not variable, just 5. Which is, without a dexterity adjustment, basically a chainmail. Hit die 1, movement 90 by 30, so slow. Again, attack by weapon, damage by weapon. You won't encounter any in the dungeon, but above ground you might encounter 1 to 20. A caravan, a bazaar, you know. Fighter, level 1 is the save again, and their morale is variable, interestingly. Treasure type A in their lair, once again, and they are neutral. And nomad, yeah, nomads. Armor class variable again, hit die 1, movement 120 by 40, attack by weapon, and damage by weapon. Again, you won't encounter any in the dungeon, but above ground 10 to 40 will be encountered as nomad, I don't know, caravan, gypsies, whatever you want to use. Romani, if you want to be more modern about it. Whatever. Fighter, level 1 is the save. Morale, 8. Treasure type A, again, in whatever layer a nomad has. And alignment, neutral. And then finally, noble, which has an armor class of 2. That would be plate mail and shield. Hit dice 3 to 8. Move 60 by 20, so not fast moving. Again, damage by weapon, attack by 1 weapon. No nobles appear below ground, but above ground 2 to 12 will appear. They save as fighter level 3 to 8. Morale 8. Treasure type V times 3 each in their lair. And alignment, any. Yeah. XP value is just all variable. All across the board. Just variable. No, there's no stat there, basically. Now, you should always basically at least give XP value based on hit die, as we covered some chapters ago, actually. Getting into the description, most groups of men are led by higher level leaders with better armor, hit points, saving throws, and possibly magic items. The chance for magic, see page 25. Men usually have large camps. Most treasure is usually at the camp. Okay, so, you treat that as the lair, right? And yeah, they may be led by more advanced, more powerful versions of these guys, right? Tweak that any way you want. Maybe give them a second hit die. Maybe give them a better armor class based on the basic one that you have. That kind of thing. Brigand. Brigands are loosely organized outlaws and renegade mercenaries who live by raiding towns and robbing caravans and travelers. For every 20 brigands, there is 1 additional second-level fighter who acts as their leader. For every 40 brigands, there is an additional 4th-level fighter acting as commander of the entire group. So that would be the 4th-level fighter, 2 second-level fighters, and the 40 brigands. Half of the brigands have leather armor, shield, short bow, and sword. So AC 7, right? The rest are mounted on riding horses, wear chainmail and shield, and carry swords. Now, chainmail and shield would be AC 4, off the top of my head. The leaders wear plate mail, carry swords and lances, and ride war horses with barding. And when we were covering horses before, we didn't talk about barding, but barding can provide an lower armor class for horses. Again, this is your one reminder in this video that we use descending armor class in this version of the rules. The lower the better, possibly even negative numbers. Brigands often band together in fortified camps of 50 to 300 men. A camp is always led by a 9th level fighter with an additional 5th level fighter for every 50 brigands. There is also a 50% chance that a magic user of level 9 to 11 is in the brigand camp, and a 30% chance that an 8th level cleric is in the brigand camp. So notice you're not going to randomly generate from the stat here. You're just going to get 10 to 40 of them, but that could just be a wandering patrol. This is a major bandit camp, the core of like a big problem for the local ruler, right? Because this is practically its own barony at this point. It's led by a ninth level fighter. He's got a cohort of troops that with lieutenants. He's got possibly a backup magic user, and even a chance of a backup cleric, right? And at that point, this is turning into not just a random encounter, but definitely into a planned encounter. This is the idea of like a scenario, or even just the nuisance that needs to be gotten rid of at the edge of the kingdom. But that is turning into a serious deal, right? You're going to get a lot of this in this section. Buccaneers and Pirates. Buccaneers are found on seas, rivers, Great Lakes, and oceans. They live by raiding coastal towns and capturing ships, selling the booty elsewhere. Pirates are seagoing men who plunder other vessels, raid coastal towns, and engage in illegal slave trades. They are noted for their evil acts and cruelty towards prisoners. They also freely attack each other if there is a chance for profit. The number of buccaneers or pirates that appear depends on the type and number of ships they are sailing. So, riverboats, 1 to 8 will be there. Each ship has 10 to 20 men. Small galleys, 1 to 6, 20 to 40 men each. Long ships, 1 to 4 long ships. Think Vikings for long ships. 30 to 50 on board. And you could theoretically treat buccaneers as Vikings or even pirates, right? And then sailed warship, big old sailed warship, a galleon, a brig, whatever you want to use. 1 to 3 ships, and then 40 to 80 men per ship. Choose a type of ship to match the terrain. For more information about ships and naval adventures, see page 42. We went over that whole section. Buccaneers and pirates are organized as follows. So we have an organization of troops. Weapons and armor, leather armor and sword. Buccaneers, 60%. Pirates, 50%. Leather armor, sword, and crossbow. Buccaneers, 30%. Pirates, 35%. And finally, chainmail and sword, if buccaneer plus crossbow. So buccaneers would also have a crossbow, but the pirates would just have chainmail and sword. Buccaneers, 10%. Pirates, 15%. For every 30 buccaneers, there is an additional 4th level fighter as a leader. For every ship, there is a 7th level fighter as captain, and a 9th level fighter as commander of the fleet. There is a 30% chance that a magic user of level 10 to 11 is with the commander, and a 25% chance that an 8th level cleric is present. For every 30 pirates, there is an additional 4th level fighter as leader. For every 50 pirates or 1 ship, there is a 5th level fighter captain. For every 100 pirates or 1 fleet, there is an 8th level fighter commander, and for every fleet of 300 or more pirates, there is an 11th level fighter, pirate lord, as commander of the fleet, and a 75% chance of a 9th or 10th level magic user. Buccaneers and pirates may carry their treasure with them or have maps showing where it is buried. Treasure given is total for the entire buccaneer pack or pirate fleet, and may be divided as desired. Pirates may also, 25% chance, have 1 to 3 prisoners with them awaiting ransom. You can think of them as nobles or eligible, ransomable, or sellable individuals. Well-defended coastal towns often serve as havens for pirates and buccaneers. They are lawless and dangerous places full of possible adventures. Just hook that out. Dervish. Dervishes often form camps or tribes of up to 300 men, led by a 10th level cleric. Such a camp will be either tents, 75%, or a wooden or brick stockade, 25%. These camps contain their women, children, livestock, and their treasure. Dervishes are noted for their fanatic belief in their religion and their intolerance of other views. On rare occasions, they will wage a holy war. Whoa, we're got a word here I probably can't say on YouTube too readily, especially in light of recent events. Juliet India Hotel Alpha Delta, in which they attempt to capture or kill all who have different beliefs. Captives are given the opportunity to convert. If they refuse, they may be killed or enslaved. Lawful characters may be invited to join the crusade, and those who refuse will be viewed with great suspicion unless a good reason can be provided as to why they should not participate. And again, these are lawful, not necessarily good people, right? Keep that in mind with the alignment system. This is, again, a 3-point alignment system of lawful, neutral, and chaotic. That's all there is. You can be lawful and not good. You can be chaotic and not evil. Trader. Traders are merchants who travel in caravans from town to town, buying and selling various goods, wines, silks, jewels, precious metals, and the like. Those in the caravan usually ride horses, but they are likely to travel by camel in desert and barren lands, and by mule in the mountains. All traders wear chainmail and carry a sword and dagger. The following table gives typical caravan organization. So if there's 5 merchants, you have 10 wagons. There are 20 level 1 fighters, 2 level 2 fighters, or level 2 to 3. You can use your judgment apparently. Level 4 to 5, 1 fighter. And there are 1 to 12 extra animals. If there are 10 merchants, well, we just functionally double all that, but there's only the same always one just 4th or 5th level fighter. And the extra animals don't change as well. 15, well, we just take that, you made it get 30, 66, and then if there are 20 merchants, it's 40, 80, and 8 additional fighters. So, well-armed caravan, right? All fighters are AC 4, wielding swords, daggers, and crossbows, and that would be chainmail and shield. Extra animals may be horses, mules, or even camels. If caravan has less than 20 wagons, the treasure should be reduced in proportion. So, that it is a lot of treasure in Type A, potentially, not always. And of course, some of that's going to be the trade cargo. So again, you want to convert some of that treasure value into things that the caravan is actually carrying for trade, unless you have a reason to believe that they sold everything and are going back home, right? And maybe they want something a bit more portable for wealth, gems, jewelry, that kind of thing. Fine. Our last category is noble. This is a general term for any member of a social class of rulers. It does not apply to the family of the king or queen, called royalty. The nobles encountered will normally be fighters, clad in fine plate mail armor and shield. Each noble is always accompanied by a squire, 2nd level fighter, servant, and may also have up to 12 retainers and hirelings of the DM's choice. The DM may create titles for nobles using the social structure of the campaign as a guide. Some traditional titles are Baron, Baroness, Count, Countess. You may have heard Countessa sometimes. Duke, Duchess, Emir, Khan, Knight, Margrave, Sheik. I would also say equivalent to Knight is Lady. And then we go to Nomads, which, we should have had before Noble, I believe, but it is alphabetically correct to have Nomads last. Just the table had Nomads before Noble. Nomads. These groups of wandering tribesmen may be peaceful or warlike and may have any alignment. Small bands encountered hunting or foraging in the wilderness are usually part of a larger tribe. All treasure is kept at the main camp. Nomads are keen traders and often have knowledge of faraway places, though they tend to be superstitious. Nomad bands are organized as follows. So, you have your typical nomad band allotment here in a grouping of 50, 20, and 30%. So the majority, the 50% here, lance, they wield lance, leather armor, and shield, riding horse or camel. or the equivalent. I will say be free to, if you want to use like some kind of riding lizard, go for that if that's existing in your setting, right? Um, 20% of the group will be wielding bow of some form, leather armor, riding horse, or camel. So, mounted archer, right? And then 30% will be wielding a lance, chainmail and shield, riding horse, or camel. So again, that's functionally like heavy cavalry versus the light cavalry of the first one, right? And for every 25 nomads, an additional second level fighter leader is present. For every 40 nomads, there is a fourth level fighter or leader. Nomad tribes may have up to 300 fighting men gathered together in a camp of temporary huts and tents. In addition to the leaders given above, there is one fifth level fighter for every 100 men and an eighth level fighter as a clan or tribe chief. At the main camp, there may be 50% chance of a ninth level cleric and possibly 25% chance an eighth level magic user. And so that first group was the desert nomads. We have another table of steppe nomads. So that's more like Mongolians. 20% of them will be the light cavalry as described. Lance, leather armor, shield, riding horse. 50% will be bow, leather armor, and riding horse. So the mounted archers, which is very Mongolian. 20% will be bow, chainmail, and riding horse. So heavy mounted archer. And then finally, 10% will be lance, chainmail, shield, and riding or warhorse. So, the heavy cavalry again. Boy, all of that just to talk about men. And you can see where we just didn't really get into much description of anybody terribly. We just more of like organizational charts and how we're supposed to include some extra level people. And that could be a fair bit of work if you're planning ahead, but it's especially a lot of work if you were to try to randomly generate on the fly a nomad camp, right? And you get a large amount of troop breakdown because there's the war machine rules going to be in the next set of the game. But right now, your characters are beginning to move into being lords and ladies, right? And they may be settling down and setting up fiefdoms or kingdoms or baronies or whatever you want going to allow them to call themselves. And this entry is very useful for like a scale threat, right? Your players may start having troops of their own, and these kind of threats may appear on the edges of their kingdom, or their fief lord may direct them to assist them with this kind of problem as part of a joint effort or on their own. So that's where all this comes in, right? And hence none of this appears in a dungeon, right? I mean, yeah, you could put a trader in a dungeon. Why is the trader in the dungeon, though, right? But certainly not to this scale. Not to a scale of, like, wagons and 20 merchants in a caravan with guards, right? What you're more likely to run into in a dungeon in the case of trading is actually just a fellow adventurer who's willing to sell off some of the stuff he's picked up. Or trade, right? Because he's, like, on his way out. And he doesn't need this thing anymore. All that just to get through a page and a third. Wow. I'm going to actually leave it there today. I know this is a short episode, but, I think having the single subject works. And next time, we'll carry forward. We're going to blow out this whole rest of this page and probably the next one, and we'll see where that goes. But thank you so much for coming here and listening to me read on this subject. I do deeply love this game. I was just playing today in my monthly game I get to play in. And boy, I do appreciate the camaraderie and enrichment this game has given my life. And I'm glad you have an interest in it and in me sharing this with you. I hope you have an excellent day. Goodbye.